seem to go this way.
I'm coming, honey.
Girls.
Yeah, I'm going to ride a boat.
Girls.
Excuse me.
Save room for Ryan and
For Ryan and Marily. Okay. All right.
right now I got cut.
Hi, honey.
Wait a minute.
We're on the boat right now. Waiting for some passenger. There. They're Marily, Ryan. Oh, here. We have a space here. Come here. Come here. Dito nga. Kaya nga, ano. Kaya nga nagtira ako ng ano. Yan. Dito ka. Tabi tayo. Ayan.
I don't know why I sat in front of this.
I don't know.
That's all right. I can see on both sides.
Maybe so that it's not
I can
cold.
see on both sides of it.
Okay. Yeah, those are passengers now. In exactly like 1:30, the boat will leave.
We were here not long ago, and the water was very low. So
Yeah.
they must have brought water in somehow.
Yeah, this time is
Well, the water
is high.
the water supply actually comes from some kind of a gravel thing down on the end.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, if you go down the trail beyond where the boat's going to go, you can see the water coming in from whatever it is up there. A lot of water.
They're still fishing there.
I wonder where Rovena's going. They're in Kentucky.
Oh, I thought you were go to diving. Ano, skydiving.
When I dropped
1 hour
off
ago,
Ruby
walking
yesterday
to
at
Kentucky.
the vet, she didn't want to go, like me leave her. And so the vet technician was like, "Oh, she's daddy's girl." I'm like, "Yep, she is."
I want to have a picture there. Okay, and
For a small town, you got to dig deep to find something to be famous for. So that's Swayze. Anyway, you are on the Delphi, which is a 2/3 replica of an actual canal boat that operated on the Wabash Erie Canal. And you are on a small section of that right now. Now, I want you to think back, it's 1790, United States had just become a country. At that time,
1990.
the population was about 4 million. So not a hugely populated country. The largest city at the time was New York, had a population of 33,000. So certainly not a metropolis. Actually, the 10th largest city in 1790 only had a population of 5,000. So most of the people did not live in cities. Now, the problem with cities is as cities grow, you have to bring stuff into the cities from further and further away. Okay, now 33,000. The average person eats 3 pounds of food a day. That's 100,000 pounds of food that would have to be brought in every day. Now, over land, the only way to move goods was with pack animals. Because back then, there were no roads, there were no bridges over rivers and streams, and a pack animal could only handle about 250 pounds. So that's 100,000 pounds coming in every day, and that's just food. And you have to bring in building materials, raw materials, fuel, all of that. And very problematic over land, especially if you only have pack animals. Now, it's always been the cheapest and most efficient way to move goods is by water. So back then people in the United States, George Washington and the other ones in the government, realized that England had an extensive canal system, and that fueled the Industrial Revolution. Goods would come into the ports like Liverpool and Glasgow and London, and they would travel by canal to the manufacturing centers. So they decided, if we want this country to grow, we're going to have to build canals. So the first canal, major canal they built, was the Erie Canal. And that went from
This is the
Albany,
first
New
canal.
York to Buffalo, New York.
This is the
It
first
was like
canal
340 miles. It was hugely successful. They paid it off in about 10 years, and it opened up western New York, western Pennsylvania, northern Ohio, and so, hey, this is going well. So in Erie Canal opened in 1823. In 1827, they decided, well, we want to get from Lake Erie to the Mississippi River. So how are we going to do that? Well, let's build a canal from Toledo, Ohio, down to Evansville, Indiana, and then we'll connect with the Ohio River and then into the Mississippi River, and now we can open up the middle of the United States that way. And so they started building that in 1827. It took 16 years. It was 480 miles long. For our Colombian students, that's about 700 kilometers. It was a long canal. When they built it, it was the second longest canal ever built. Still today, second longest one. Who knows the first longest? Anybody? Well, no, but that is a canal. The longest canal ever built is the Grand Canal in China, and it's 1,100 miles. And it's still used today. But this was the second longest one. So, now, imagine that you're a man, a 20-year-old guy,
Turning.
somewhere in Europe.
Yeah.
And you're down at the pub having some beers with your buddies, and you say, hey, I got an idea. Let's all move to the United States and we'll build a canal. And we'll have to build it by hand. It'll take 16 years. We'll be out in the middle of nowhere, so we might get attacked by Indians. We'll get bad pay, lousy food. We'll sleep on the floor in log cabins, and after 16 years we'll die, because life expectancy back then was only about 35 years, and there's no girls.
Oh, wow.
So how many people do you think signed up for that deal?
Wow, 35.
Actually, millions. Why would somebody sign up for that? I can only think of two reasons. One, American marketing hype. We went over there, we wanted immigrants, so we told them, hey, come to America, free land, the streets are paved with gold, free, you have a great life. That's reason number one. But I think the main reason was these people realized if they stayed in Europe, their lives would have been worse. Because back then, most people were peasants. A lot of them were serfs, which is like a slave. They were at war all the time. There was starvation. Hey, I'm going to America. Maybe I'll have a better deal there. So, millions came over, and some of you may have ancestors who helped build this canal. Most of the workers on the canal were German, English, and Irish immigrants. Okay, no slaves. The slaves were in the South. Okay? So, they built the canal. Now, how did the canal operate? Well, the canal boats were pulled by a team of horses. And if you look at the ridge over here, all the boats were on this side of the canal. And there's a cleat in the middle of the boat, a wooden cleat. They would hook a long rope to the cleat and then hook it to the team of horses, and they would have to have a guy in the back that would steer the boat, otherwise it would go right into the bank, and they would pull the boat along the ridge. The speed limit back then on the canal was 4 miles an hour. All right, so it was
Very
not
slow.
rapid transit by any means. All right, now I don't think they came close to 4 miles an hour because of a number of things. One, they started the canal in Toledo, and they had to lift the boats 340 feet to the high point, which was between Fort Wayne and Huntington, was the high point. So they had to lift the boats 340 feet. How do you lift a boat in a canal? Locks, okay? Now, once they got to the high point, they had to lower the boats 540 feet to the Ohio River. Locks again. Now, how many locks do you think there were on the canal? Anybody take a guess? 77 total locks. So there's a lot of going up and down at 4 miles an hour, well, maximum 4. I think the average speed was probably closer to 2 miles an hour. Now, all the boats were on this side of the canal. So what would happen if there was a boat coming from the other direction? Well, one of them would have to lower their rope, move to the other side, allow the other one to pass, and then move back over and continue. Okay, now there's some buildings along the canal here. Those are replicas of what buildings were like in say 1850, because the canal opened in 1843. Now, along the canal, they would have big places like this, which they called liveries, and every 15 miles they would have one of these where they would change teams of horses, okay? And then they would have other buildings where they could spend the night. There'd be a restaurant, and the workers would live there and that kind of stuff. So every 15 miles there would be one of these liveries. Now, there were 3 types of canal boats. You're on the mid-size boat. A canal boat of this size would carry both passengers and freight, okay? The biggest canal boats were like the replica that's up in the playground area up there. That's more of a full-size boat. That was freight only, and livestock and lumber and corn and all that. So, and the smallest boats were called packet boats, and those were passengers only. Now, if you think that 480 miles and you're only averaging 2 miles an hour, and you can only operate about 15 hours a day in the summertime, because the canal boats did not operate at night, so you're going 30 miles a day. So how long is it going to take you to get from Toledo to Evansville? Like 14 days on a canal boat. Not rapid travel. Okay? Now, can you think of any drawbacks to canals? Well, at least canals in Indiana. Okay? Couldn't do it in the winter. Can't do it at night. Very slow. Maintenance nightmare. Hugely labor intensive, because you had to have people operating the locks, you had to have people maintaining the ridge where the horses went, and apparently back then muskrats would dig tunnels in the banks and the canals would drain, so they had to repair those. It was just a nightmare.